Welcome to the Till Death Paranormal podcast, where my wife Claire
and my husband Si dive into the true tales of hauntings, possessions, and the unexplainable.
Each week we share chilling stories, explore the darker corners of the supernatural, and maybe even laugh through the fear.
So grab your brew, fetch your flashlight,
lock the doors, and remember,
the dead don't always stay quiet.
Hello and welcome to the podcast. Each week we delve into different supernatural topics, and this week it's Haunted House Week.
And we will be discussing the Conjuring house this week and delving into the history, the explainable and the unexplainable.
So let's kick this off with some basics.
Yeah, so today we're travelling to rural Rhode Island to explore one of America's most famous haunted houses, the real location that inspired the 2013 blockbuster film The Conjuring.
Located at 1677 Round Top Road in Harrisville, Burrillville, there's a lot going on there, Rhode Island, this colonial farmhouse has become synonymous with one of the most terrifying haunting cases ever documented by paranormal investigators Ed and Lorraine Warren.
But here's what makes this case so compelling. Unlike many ghost stories that grow more dramatic over time, the real events at the Conjuring house might actually be more frightening than anything Hollywood put on screen.
We're talking about the Perron family's decade-long nightmare in a house where the living and the dead existed in a constant state of supernatural warfare, a place where a mother was allegedly possessed by the spirit of an accused witch, where children were terrorized nightly, and where the fabric of reality seemed to break down.
The house has changed hands several times since the Perron family fled in 1980, but the paranormal activity continues to this day. Current owner Jacqueline Nunez runs it as a paranormal investigation site, and guests regularly report encounters that mirror the Perrons' experiences from 50 years ago.
So today we're separating fact from Hollywood fiction, exploring the real history of this colonial farmhouse and examining whether the spirit of Bathsheba Sherman still haunts the property where she lived over 150 years ago.
And just a fair warning to everyone, this episode contains disturbing content involving children, discussion of suicide and infant death, and graphic description of alleged supernatural assault. We'll be respectful but honest about what the historical record shows.
The house that would become known as the Conjuring House was built around 1736 on what was then called the Arnold Estate, which was part of a 200-acre farm in the rural village of Harrisville, Rhode Island.
So this sprawling pre-Revolutionary War colonial has witnessed over 8 generations of families, and according to local records, that history is marked by an unusually high number of tragic deaths, by drowning, murder, suicide and hanging.
The property's most infamous former resident was Bathsheba Sherman, born Bathsheba Thayer in 1812. She married Judson Sherman in 1844 and moved to the farmhouse where she would live until her death in 1885.
Yeah, well, this is where the history gets a bit tangled with the Hollywood fiction. The movie The Conjuring portrays Bathsheba as a Satan-worshipping witch who sacrificed her infant child and killed herself in 1863. But the historical reality is quite different.
It is apparently very different, yeah. The real Bathsheba... I can't say it. The real Bathsheba Sherman, it still sounds like some kind of bathroom product.
Yeah, it does.
The real Bathsheba Sherman lived a much longer life than the movie suggests. Historical records show that she died in 1885 at the age of 73, not 1863. She was never accused of witchcraft during her lifetime, and there's no evidence that she was involved in satanic rituals or infant sacrifice.
But however, Bathsheba was known in the community as a difficult, unpleasant woman. Local folklore suggests she may have practiced folk magic or herbalism, which is rural 19th century New England, could easily be interpreted as witchcraft by suspicious neighbours.
The confusion about Bathsheba's, why can't I say it? Bathsheba's alleged witchcraft may stem from her supposed connection to Marytown Eastie, who was executed during the Salem witch trials in 1692. Some sources claim Bathsheba was related to Mary, I said it by the way, though historians have found no definitive proof of this connection.
So, what is documented is that the Sherman family experienced their own tragedies while living in the farmhouse. Local records suggest that several children died on the property over the decades, and Bathsheba herself was reportedly involved in a dispute with a neighbour that ended with the neighbour's death.
After Bathsheba's death in 1885, the farmhouse changed hands multiple times. Various families lived there throughout the late 19th and early 20th centuries, and while we don't have detailed records of their experiences, local folklore suggests that many didn't stay long.
By the 1970s, the house had been empty for some time when it went on the market. It was a beautiful historic property on substantial acreage offered at what seemed like a bargain price. For the Perron family, it looked like the perfect place to raise their 5 daughters.
Well, it would, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, big house.
Big house,
loads
all
of
the
land.
Think brilliant in the countryside.
Good times.
Beautiful.
Good times.
Yeah. I know we would.
Oh, yeah, exactly, yeah. But as Roger and Carolyn Perron would soon discover, there was a reason for the price. Some houses come with a history that never truly dies, and 1677 Round Top Road was about to prove that point in the most terrifying way possible.
So now we're moving on to the Perron family.
The Perron family themselves.
Yeah, so in December 1970, Roger and Carolyn Perron moved into the Harrisville farmhouse with their 5 daughters, Andrea, Nancy, Christine, Cindy and April. The girls ranged in age from 5 to 12, and the family was excited about starting a new life in their spacious colonial home.
The Perrons were a typical working class family. Roger was a truck driver and Carolyn was a homemaker devoted to raising their daughters. They had saved for years to afford this house, and despite its age and much needed repairs, they saw it as their dream home.
But almost immediately after moving in, the family began experiencing phenomena that defied explanation. It started small, with doors that would creak open on their own, cold spots in certain rooms, and the persistent feeling of being watched.
The first major incident occurred just days after they moved in. One of the daughters woke up to find a woman standing by her bed, an elderly woman in old-fashioned clothing who simply stared at her before vanishing. And even when they were moving in, we've done a little bit of digging.
Yeah.
The people that sold the house told them to leave the lights on.
Yeah, they said whatever you do, leave a light on
at night.
Yeah.
And apparently the girls, when they were literally moving packing boxes into the house, saw a figure.
Yeah.
In the window, just watching them move in.
Yeah.
So it's absolutely disgusting.
Yeah. For the research of this, guys, it's not been easy. Let's just say that.
I know.
So the phenomena escalated quickly. Family members reported being touched by invisible hands, hearing whispers in empty rooms, and finding objects move to different locations overnight. The house seemed alive with unseen presences.
What made the Perron case unique was the variety and intensity of the paranormal activity. This wasn't just one ghost. The family reported encountering multiple different spirits, each with distinct personalities and behaviours.
Some of the spirits seemed relatively benign. There was the spirit of the little boy who would play with the Perron children, an elderly woman who appeared to be watching over the family, but there were also malevolent entities that seemed intent on driving the family away.
The most terrifying presence was what the family came to believe was the spirit of Bathsheba Sherman. This entity was hostile, territorial, and seemed particularly focused on terrorising the mother, Carolyn Perron.
So Carolyn reported being physically attacked by this spirit, waking up with unexplained bruises, being pinched and scratched by invisible hands, and experiencing what she describes as attempts of possession.
Now, in the films, this is portrayed quite well.
Yeah, I think they've pulled that off quite well in the film.
Because it does start minimal with things happening, and then she starts getting bruises.
Yeah, she starts getting bruises.
And then she takes those iron tablets.
Yeah, iron tablets because she's been the doctors, because obviously bruises are appearing for no apparent reason.
Yeah,
like Roger's coming home after travelling, because obviously he's a truck driver.
It's deficiency, don't they?
Yeah, and they think it's something like that, because obviously she's not banging herself, even if she is slightly.
Yeah.
Massive bruises are appearing, so
So I think they did that all right.
Yeah, I think they portrayed that really well.
The children, however, weren't spared from the supernatural assault either. They reported being pulled from their beds by unseen forces, having their hair yanked by invisible hands, and being terrorised by apparitions that would appear in their rooms at night time.
What's particularly disturbing about the Perron case is how the paranormal activity seemed to adapt and escalate in response to the family's attempts to cope. When they tried to ignore the phenomena, it became more aggressive. When they acknowledged it, it seemed to gain strength.
Andrea Perron, the eldest daughter, later wrote that the house felt like a battlefield where the living and the dead were engaged in a constant warfare. The family couldn't escape the supernatural activity. It followed them throughout the house and seemed to intensify over time.
By 1973, after 3 years of escalating paranormal terror, Carolyn Perron was desperate. The supernatural attacks on her had become so severe that she feared for her life and the safety of her children. That's when she made the decision that would change everything. She contacted Ed and Lorraine Warren.
So this is the time where Ed and Lorraine Warren start their investigation.
They do indeed.
In 1973, Carolyn Perron reached out to Ed and Lorraine Warren, the famous paranormal investigators who had built their reputation on cases like the Amityville Horror and would later investigate Annabelle.
Now, when the Warrens first visited the Harrisville farmhouse, Lorraine Warren, who claimed to be a clairvoyant, immediately sensed multiple spirits in the house. She described the property as being saturated with supernatural energy, much of it malevolent.
According to the Warrens' investigation, the house was home to several different spirits from different time periods, but the most powerful and dangerous entity was what they identified as the spirit of Bathsheba Sherman, who they believed had claimed the house as her eternal domain. Ooh.
The Warrens documented classic signs of demonic haunting and potential possession. They observed objects moving without physical cause, temperature fluctuations, strange odours, and what they described as an oppressive spiritual atmosphere that seemed to drain energy from the living.
Lorraine Warren claimed that Bathsheba's spirit had formed a particular attachment to the house and would not tolerate other women living there. This explained why Carolyn Perron bore the brunt of the supernatural attack. She was seen as a rival for control of the house.
During their investigation, the Warrens witnessed phenomena that convinced them that this was one of the most severe hauntings they had ever encountered. They reported seeing full-bodied apparitions, experiencing physical attacks by spirits, and documenting evidence that they believed proved the existence of malevolent supernatural forces.
The investigation took a dramatic turn when Carolyn Perron appeared to become possessed by Bathsheba's spirit during a seance conducted by the Warrens. According to witnesses, Carolyn's voice changed, her body contorted unnaturally, and she spoke as if she were Bathsheba Sherman.
Now, during this alleged possession, whether you believe possession or not, Bathsheba was speaking through Carolyn, reportedly revealed intimate details about the house's history and made threats against the Perron family. The possession was so violent and frightening that Roger Perron had physically restrained his wife.
And I think it was the eldest Perron daughter.
Yeah.
She
Is
said,
it Andrea?
Yeah,
I think it's the eldest one.
She said she witnessed
Yeah.
this as well. Said her mother was speaking in a tongue,
A language that she'd never
a language
heard.
that was otherworldly, with a voice that wasn't her own, wasn't it?
Yeah,
So,
it's... ugh.
yeah. So apparently
It's
she
rough.
witnessed that as a kid.
It's like, and I think they did quite well with that in the film as well. I mean, obviously it's exaggerated a little bit,
Yeah.
but I think they did that quite well because in the film you see them doing the seance, I think it is, or are they just in the living room and then she gets thrown across
She gets
the
thrown
room.
back, yeah.
Andrea, the actual daughter, has said that she witnessed all this happen as well.
Yeah. Which is, well, that'll mess you up.
Yeah, definitely.
Ed Warren attempted to perform an impromptu exorcism to free Carolyn from Bathsheba's influence. According to accounts, the procedure was chaotic and terrifying, with furniture moving on its own and supernatural forces seemingly fighting against Warren's efforts.
The exorcism was partially successful and Carolyn was freed from the immediate possession, but the Warrens warned that Bathsheba's spirit remained and attached to the house and would continue to terrorise anyone who lived there.
What makes the Warrens' investigation controversial is the lack of independent verification. Most of the dramatic incidents have only the Warrens' word as evidence, and some researchers have questioned whether the investigators may have unintentionally encouraged or even created some of the phenomena through suggestion and expectation.
However, big however for this one, sorry. The Perron family has consistently supported the Warrens' account of events. Andrea Perron, who we have spoke about, who witnessed the investigation as a teenager, has written extensively about the case and maintains that the Warrens accurately documented the supernatural terror her family endured.
Interestingly, there was one family member who seemed immune to the paranormal activity, and that was Roger Perron, the father. He reportedly never experienced any supernatural encounters and often questioned whether the events were really happening.
Well, yeah, that makes sense because he was never there. He was
Yeah,
a truck driver,
exactly.
so like the girls are all witness, like it was in the film, like the girls were all witnessing it.
In the film,
And then-
he seemed sceptical throughout pretty much
But
the
the
majority
whole of
didn't
it
he?
until
Yeah.
it actually got
To the nitty
until the
gritty, as
nitty
we say.
gritty. Yeah. But yeah, I understand that as well on why he wasn't getting anything. And like they've said, when all the research, it is mostly women spirits or demonic
Typical
spirits.
bloke, though, isn't it?
Yeah,
Stop fucking about.
stop messing about. Why are you messing about? I'm just getting home from work.
Yeah,
Sod off.
exactly. Yeah.
So, life in the haunted house. What many people don't realise about the Conjuring house case is that the Perron family didn't flee immediately after the Warren investigation. They continued living in the house for 7 more years until 1980. A full decade of coexisting with supernatural forces. How can you do that for a decade?
Well, as when we looked into it,
We didn't
It was
realise.
financial worry.
Yeah, it was the financial side of it, wasn't it?
Yeah, they had financial issues and they couldn't move out.
Yeah, but like they lived with that for. I didn't realise they were there for so long until we researched it.
Yeah, yeah.
I thought they would only been
didn't
there
know it was
a
a
year.
full decade,
No,
but-
I thought there was only a year.
But if you
But-
can't afford it, you can't afford
Well,
it,
yeah.
can you?
And back in the 70s, back in the 70s and 80s, it was just as bad as now. Like,
Yeah.
but you know,
But life in the haunted farmhouse did become a daily struggle. The family developed routines and coping mechanisms to deal with the constant paranormal activity. Just because this seance/exorcism ceased the possession potentially,
the house,
activities, the house was still
the
going.
house was still going. It's
still
not.
going.
It's not the people in it. It's the house.
Yeah, they learned which rooms were more dangerous at certain times, which spirits were relatively harmless, and how to minimise confrontations with the malevolent ones.
The children remarkably adapted to their supernatural roommates. They gave nicknames to some of the friendlier spirits and learnt to differentiate between the various entities that shared their home, but they also lived in constant fear of the more aggressive presences.
Carolyn Perron continued to bear the brunt of the attacks. She reported regular physical assaults by invisible forces, attempts at possession, and psychological warfare designed to drive her to madness or even to suicide.
The family's financial situation trapped them in the house. They had invested everything they had in the property, and with 5 children to support, they just couldn't afford to simply walk away. They were prisoners in their own home.
Sleep became nearly impossible for the family. Night after night, they would be awakened by supernatural activity. Footsteps in empty rooms, doors slamming, voices calling their names, and physical attacks by unseen entities.
The psychological toll on the family was enormous. The children struggled in school. Carolyn's health deteriorated from the constant stress and alleged supernatural attacks, and Roger felt helpless to protect his family from forces he couldn't even see or fight.
What's remarkable is how the family maintained some resemblance of normal life, despite the going on in the house. The children still played, the family still gathered for meals, and they found moments of peace amid all the chaos.
By 1980, however, the situation had become unbearable. The supernatural activity seemed to be escalating, and Carolyn's health was failing. The family finally found a way to escape. They sold the house and moved away from Harrisville.
But according to the Warrens' theory, leaving the house didn't necessarily free the family from Bathsheba's influence. They believed that the spirit had formed such a strong attachment to the Perrons that some level of supernatural activity would follow them wherever they went. The house after the Perrons, when they finally escaped in 1980, the farmhouse changed hands several times. Each new owner seemed to experience some level of paranormal activity, though none stayed as long or documented their experiences as thoroughly as the Perrons did.
The The house's reputation as a haunted location grew over the decades, particularly after the Warrens began including the case in their lectures and books. But it wasn't until the release of the Conjuring movie in 2013 that the property became a global phenomenon.
The success of the film transformed the quiet colonial farmhouse into a pilgrimage site for horror fans and paranormal investigators. The property's value skyrocketed, and it became one of the most famous haunted houses in America.
In 2019, the house was purchased by Jacqueline Nunez, who had a specific vision for the property. Rather than trying to live there as a normal family home, she decided to embrace its paranormal reputation and operate it as a legitimate investigation site. Woohoo!
Woohoo! Under Nunez's ownership, the Conjuring House has become a destination for serious paranormal researchers as well as curious tourists. She offers overnight investigations, day tours, and special events for people who want to experience a location that inspired one of the most successful horror franchises in history.
But what's fascinating is that the supernatural activity reportedly continues unabated. Visitors and investigators regularly report encounters that mirror the Perron family's experiences. They get the cold spots, the moving objects, the strange sounds, and all the sightings of the apparitions. It's the house.
Yeah,
it's the house. It is the house.
Nunez herself has reported numerous supernatural encounters since taking ownership of the property. She's experienced temperature fluctuations, electronic equipment malfunctions, and what she describes as interactions with multiple different spirits.
And the current owner has also worked to separate fact from fiction regarding the house's history. She's collaborated with historians to research the true story of Bathsheba Sherman.
You can't say it now.
Bathsheba Sherman, and has even donated money to restore Bathsheba's grave marker, acknowledging that the real woman was likely very different from the Hollywood witch portrayed in the movie.
Yeah, we've seen the grave and stuff.
Yeah, there's a bit like some YouTubers we watch.
Yeah. Whether the ongoing paranormal activity at the house is genuinely supernatural or the result of suggestion and expectation created by the property's fame remains a subject of debate among researchers and skeptics. Okay.
So now we're moving on to Hollywood versus reality.
Hollywood versus reality.
The 2013 film The Conjuring brought the Perron family story to a global audience, but like most Hollywood adaptations, it took significant liberties with the real events. Let's separate the facts from the fiction, shall we?
Let's. The movie compressed the timeline dramatically. The film shows a haunting occurring over a few weeks or months, but the real Perron family lived with the supernatural activity for 10 years, from 1970 to 1980.
Now, James Wan, is it Wan or Wan?
Juan.
James Wan, the director, also changed some key details for dramatic effect. The movie shows a possession and exorcism as the climactic events that freed the family, but in reality, these occurred in 1973, and the Perrons continued living in the house for 7 more years after.
The film's portrayal of Bathsheba Sherman as a Satan-worshipping witch who killed her infant and committed suicide is largely fictional. The real Bathsheba lived a long life and died of natural causes, and there's no historical evidence of witchcraft, infant sacrifice, or suicide. However, our research, we've looked into Bathsheba a little bit. Now, she did have 4 children of her own.
She did have 4 children of her own, but
and
they
lost
all sadly
them all.
passed.
And she was looking after
a neighbour's
infant kid.
Yeah.
And that kid died, and apparently it was a needle to the back of its head.
Yeah. Now, apparently, some investigators have been to the house and have felt like a needle in the back of their head as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, so whether it's true or not.
Carolyn Perron as well had a needle.
Yeah, she had a needle in her leg.
Which actually made her bleed. Apparently, there's something we don't know about Bathsheba.
But in Bathsheba's defence, she'd lost 4 children.
You'd be pissed anyway.
You'd be clinically depressed, and obviously back then it wasn't a thing.
And the
like
community were against her.
Against her because she kept losing her children.
And they thought she was
was
quiet and reserved, probably pissed off.
Yeah.
So even if she wasn't in life a Satan worshipping witch, as it says,
she's just a woman who's had a very hard life.
And maybe in death,
she
fucking snapped. Who knows?
But then she was also very like she loved her house. She loved the house. So maybe she's just being protective of the house.
Yeah.
And that's, so you don't know. But yeah, there are our thoughts on that bit.
Yeah.
Hollywood also simplified the supernatural activity. The movie focuses primarily on Bathsheba's spirit, but the real house was allegedly home to multiple entities from the different time periods, each with their own personalities and behaviours.
What the movie did get right was the intensity of the Perron's family's terror and the way the paranormal activity targeted Carolyn Perron specifically. The film accurately captured the sense of a mother and family under supernatural siege.
The movie also correctly portrayed the Warren investigation and the dramatic possession and exorcism attempt. While some details are changed for cinematic effect, the core events of Carolyn's possession and Ed Warren's intervention did occur according to family accounts. Now, that is the bit where she gets thrown across the room.
Yeah, that's after the seance.
Yeah, that's after the seance. Like, the seance, I don't think is portrayed in the film. I think it's just...
She gets launched.
She gets launched. No, it's actually the daughter that gets launched across the room, if I remember rightly.
Right,
But
yeah.
it was actually the mum. She gets launched across during the seance because Andrea, the eldest daughter, seen this with her own eyes. And that actually happened. One of them got thrown across the room.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, interestingly, Lorraine Warren served as a consultant on the film and reportedly approved of how she and her husband were portrayed. The real Perron family also supported the movie, with Andrea Perron, the oldest daughter, I believe, writing that it captured the emotional truth of their experience, even if some details were altered.
The success... I'm getting... As soon as you go, I go. The success of The Conjuring spawned an entire cinematic universe, but most of the sequels and spin-offs have moved far away from the real events at the Harrisville farmhouse. The original film remains the most accurate depiction of the Perron family's decade-long nightmare.
Now, let's examine the Conjuring house case from a sceptical perspective.
Which we like doing. We don't like just saying, "Oh, it's haunted."
No, we
like a little debunking, don't we?
We want the truth.
Yeah,
So
that is our thing. We can't afford to go to the Conjuring house because it's all the way in Connecticut, in the big US of A.
The US of A.
Yeah.
Yeah, we want the truth though. We wouldn't bullshit. So let's examine the Conjuring house from a skeptical perspective, because there are several factors that could explain the reported phenomena without invoking supernatural causes.
So first, we have to consider the power of suggestion and family dynamics. The Perron family moved into a house they knew had a dark reputation, which could have primed them to interpret normal house sounds and settle in as paranormal activity, especially when the old owner tells you, don't turn off the light, leave the lights on. You're already got to be like, oh, what?
Why?
Why? Because you can't actually say when you're selling a house if there's been deaths. So I think you've got to say if there's been a death.
But not supernatural occurrences.
Not supernatural.
You're not at liberty to say any of that. If you're selling a house now. So the fact that Roger Perron, the father, never experienced any supernatural phenomena, while the rest of his family did, is significant. This could suggest that belief and expectation played a major role in what people experienced.
From a psychological perspective, the family was under enormous financial stress, living in an old house that needed expensive repairs that they couldn't afford. This kind of chronic stress can manifest in various physical and psychological symptoms that might be interpreted as supernatural attacks. Now, I get that.
But
it's like it's only happening like in the middle of nowhere, as a woman with your 5 children on your own as your husband goes out to work. You would feel very isolated. You would feel like you've basically got nowhere to go for help.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? That psychological... Like, I'm like that when you're on nights. Every little noise I hear in the house, I'm like, what the hell?
But I think especially back in...
the 70s.
The 1970s.
Yeah.
Especially. The worry of financial stuff.
Yeah.
Was heavily burdened on the man.
Yeah, because it was the man went to work.
That kind of
to
thing.
fund for the family. The woman stayed home, looked after the children.
If anyone had financial stress badly, it was probably the father, but he didn't see anything. So, I don't know. Just one to think about, innit?
Yeah, it's one of the, it's like I'd like to know how Roger felt like, obviously, with the seance and stuff.
Yeah.
Because obviously it was Carolyn who went and got Ed and Lorraine Warren.
Yeah, she
went. And he thought it was a whole load of bollocks. Roger did.
Yeah, as you would. If you especially haven't seen anything.
Well, yeah, especially if you've not seen, you've not heard anything, there's been nothing. I'd like to know if there's anything. I've not I've not found anything. I don't think we'll ever will, but what his point of view was on it all.
Yeah.
As well, to see what his thoughts were on it.
Yeah.
Basically.
But the house itself is actually nearly 300 years old. So, with the structural issues you would expect from a colonial era building, settling foundations, old wiring, drafts and aging pipes, it could easily account for many of the reported phenomena. Strange sounds, temperature fluctuations and stuff like that.
The Warren investigation itself might have inadvertently created or even amplified some of the phenomena through suggestion and expectation. When professional ghost hunters tell you your house is severely haunted, it can create a psychological environment where every unusual event is interpreted as supernatural. Now, the interesting thing about that is Ed and Lorraine Warren did always check that first. Like, they didn't go straight in and go, your house is haunted.
And that
they
is
used to,
depicted in the film as well.
that is depicted.
Ed goes up to the
another
attic.
house. Yeah, it's another house.
Yeah, he goes up to the attic in a house.
And goes, no,
says,
it's your pipes, look.
Yeah, it's your
And that
pipes.
because they did do that, because they went and checked.
You got to try and debunk.
Yeah, you've got to try. And yeah. So I got to understand it, but I think Ed and Lorraine Warren were them type of people. They would go in, and I think it is reported. They've got them in their books and stuff. But yeah.
But skeptics do have to contend with the consistency and longevity of all the reports. The Perron family's accounts remain consistent over the decades, and similar phenomena continue to be reported by different people with no connection to the original family.
The fact that multiple witnesses report similar experiences and the paranormal activity continues under different ownership suggests that something unusual is happening at that property, even if the explanation isn't necessarily supernatural.
Yeah, and maybe when the parents were there, it was so close to possession, maybe. Let's say, for example.
Yeah, because we're still on the fence about possession.
Yeah, and it was, they liked the family, they liked toying with them, they enjoyed it, blah, blah, blah. And then when they left, it died down because they didn't have their playthings, basically.
Yeah.
You don't know, do you?
You don't know, but then the fact is it's still going on.
Yeah, but not as bad.
But not as bad as
That's
well.
what I
Because
mean.
the parent, because no one's there 24/7.
Yeah.
Because, like they said, the new owner now, she just has it as an investigation. So, but yeah,
Strange. So,
strange one.
what do we make of the Conjuring house today then? Is it truly one of America's most haunted locations, or is it a colonial farmhouse where suggestion, expectation, and old house quirks create the illusion of a supernatural activity?
Well, the truth, as always, probably lies somewhere in the middle.
Yeah.
There's no denying that people have generally frightening experiences at the house, but whether those experiences are supernatural, psychological, or environmental remains open to interpretation.
What's undeniable is the fact this case has had an impact on popular culture. The Conjuring house has become a symbol of American haunted house lore. It has inspired movies, books, and countless paranormal investigations.
And now under Jacqueline Nunez's ownership, the house continues to operate as a legitimate paranormal research site. Serious investigators can book overnight stays, and the ongoing reports of supernatural activity suggest that whatever is happening there isn't diminishing over time.
Yeah.
It's still going on.
Well,
That's what we said. It's still going on. Not as effectively as it was with the Perron family, like we said, but it's still going on.
we've also found out recently that Jacqueline Nunez is under investigation.
Yeah, so it's actually not open to the public at the minute.
Apparently not, no, but
Now, I
that
think
is
she
because
now
apparently she wasn't paying the staff and she wasn't treating them very well and stuff like that.
from what we found out.
From what is recent, yeah.
Yeah.
But the case also raises important questions about how we interpret unusual experiences and the role that belief plays in shaping our perception of reality. Whether you're a believer or a skeptic, the Conjuring house represents something deeper about our relationship with the unknown.
For the Perron family, the decade they spent in the house shaped their entire lives. Andrea Perron has written extensively about their experiences, and the family remains convinced that they shared their home with supernatural forces for 10 years. 10 years. I can't get over
10 years, I know. So whether you believe in the paranormal or not, the Conjuring house serves as a reminder of how thin the line can be between the normal and the abnormal, between what we can explain and what remains mysteriously beyond our understanding.
So what do you think then? What's your thoughts on the house? Haunted or not?
Yes.
Yeah, I think it is.
I think something's happening there.
I think something's there.
Because what another bit of information is the youngest daughter, I believe it was, when she was 2 months old, she had a birth defect, and she actually died in hospital on the operating table, but managed to get revived.
Yeah.
Now, she was the youngest. Don't get it wrong, but because she died, maybe she either brought something back with her, or she was an easy conduit, because she was the one that was seeing a lot of the stuff there.
Yeah, she was seeing the actual apparitions, wasn't she?
Yeah. Many before other people.
I believe if you go through something like that, you've got to come back with some sense
Maybe.
of the paranormal. I think
if it's out there. But then, on the flip side of that, I think she was the one that kept hearing people tell her that there's 7 dead soldiers buried in the wall.
Yeah. Now, we didn't talk about that in our research, did we? But from other research that we've done, and from YouTubers we've watched and that have been there to the actual Conjuring house, there is evidence to support that is actually true.
So a lot of there was a huge war that got fought across that land, and
blood. It was awful. It was one of the biggest wars ever.
It was fucking awful. And
yeah.
Lots of people died. So the fact that a little girl was apparently, and she wouldn't know, but 7 dead soldiers buried in the walls.
Yeah.
Kept getting told that. So they have done scans using the lawn sonar. That's what I'm going to call it.
Lawn sonar.
And they have found what appears to be, it could be or it could not be, but potentially be 5 bodies.
Yeah.
Buried within the walls.
Within the walls of the property. Now, they can't actually dig. They haven't got authorization to dig and find, which I don't know why.
I don't know why either.
I think it must be the county or something.
God knows.
But, yeah, it's intriguing, isn't it?
It is. And a lot of people on YouTube and stuff that we've seen, there's lots of references to soldiers as well. So it's got everything else going on that we've talked about in the main body of this. But then it's also got
there's
things
also
like this.
little bits off the side.
Yeah.
Which we didn't really want to put in because there's not enough evidence for us to actually
not to fully
support it. There's like in the YouTube videos that we've seen as well. Apparently, the basement is the worst of it as well.
That's where a lot of it's a feeling.
A lot of the dark
dread.
The dark feeling
that someone's following you down and stuff like that.
Yeah. And then there's also some research we found that Roger used to always have to go down in the basement to fix the heating.
The heating system they had kept turning
malfunctioning,
itself off or
basically, didn't it?
malfunctioning, which forced Roger
to go down. And
go
then
down.
he just felt like he was getting watched, and there was always a smell of like, I think he described it as like rotten flesh or something. It was not a nice smell.
Yeah,
basically, every time he went down.
Smells used to be a thing apparently.
Yeah, there was that, and then
flowers.
the flowers as well.
Yeah, apparently the girls smelt flowers and stuff, but they also smelt like rotten meat.
Yeah, rotten meat and
stuff like that, and rotten flesh.
Which Ed and Lorraine Warren used to say was a demonic presence.
Yeah,
as well.
And because Roger kept on do that, they actually opened up the fireplaces in the house. Obviously, this is what we've researched, so
whether it's there, it's not. That's why we're mentioning it near the end rather than the full research.
But when they opened up the fireplaces to warm the house instead of having to constantly go down to the heating system that kept failing, that's when it also stepped it up even more.
Yeah.
So maybe that was a reply of, "Oh, you're not coming in the basement? Well, I'll get fucking worse then."
Yeah.
So we don't know, but things start to go missing as well, or moving around.
Yeah.
The broom
kept getting moved, and then there was piles of dirt randomly dotted around the house.
So Carol and Perron would then have a go at a kid saying, "Where's the broom? Stop moving the broom," and the kids would be adamant that it ain't them moving it. And then even if she swept the floor of the kitchen, that she'd come back and find just small piles of dirt just dotted around the kitchen. It's odd, but even the previous owners, which were the Arnolds, I believe.
Yeah, Abigail and John.
Now, They had like 8 generations worth in that house.
Yeah,
or something, the
apparently
Arnold
so.
family.
We've not mentioned it again in the research. We've gone
Yeah,
more for
because this
what-
is old.
This is old. This is before Bathsheba or after Bathsheba, around the same
Something like
time.
that, yeah.
But yeah, apparently they still knock about in there.
Yeah, Abigail apparently used to kiss the children,
Yeah,
the parents'
the
children,
parents'
good
children.
night,
You always
which
used
may have been the woman that they saw, one of the kids saw
saw her at the
standing
end of the bed.
Yeah.
But she also liked the kitchen. She loved cooking and stuff, and apparently used to hear noises in the kitchen, which people still hear now
Metal
when they
scraping,
go metal
bangs
scraping
and stuff like that.
Yeah, so I think that's her just pottering around the kitchen making the pies.
And maybe even if you brushed up,
Yeah, she was cleaning up.
she's
in the
brushed up
house.
again.
She's brushed up again.
I don't know, it's weird.
Yeah, it's weird a lot, but no, that's it from this episode. Thank you very much for listening to us ramble on.
If you have a paranormal story, please email us at tilldeathparapod@gmail.com. And if you have any thoughts on the Conjuring house itself, then please drop us a message.
Yeah, and speak to us or just join our Discord community, Till Death Society, by using the links on the description box and all our socials.
And just remember,
not everything that knocks should be answered.